Welcome back, friends, viewers, followers, guests. This is my RCA cassette player. I've actually, this, funny story, I bought this new in package about 3 years ago, but it was actually made somewhere in the mid-90s, probably 96, 97. When I was a kid, walking to middle school every day, as I often did, this is the exact model unit that I carried with me. It was on this exact tape player that I discovered bands like the Pixies, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, and even Nirvana's Unplugged album. The RCA cassette player that I carried with me was kind of therapeutic in a way. So when I had the opportunity to buy one of these brand new just a couple of years ago, I snapped at the opportunity and paid full boat for it. I think I paid $40 for this thing. That having been said, this model isn't terrifically durable. I actually went through about 3 of these when I was in middle school. I just kept buying new ones. They were $20, $30 back then. I just kept buying new ones. Well, nowadays I use the cassette player not for music, but a lot of audiobooks that I find at my local Savers. I'll buy whatever seems to pique my interest. And Robin Cook is one of my favorite authors, in addition to that lawyer guy, John Grisham. Really love his work. So let's get on it. So this thing right here, what's happening is, and I remember this happening to this particular model when I was a kid, when these were new back in the mid-90s. As it approaches the end of the tape, it begins to bind up and shuts off. And I couldn't quite figure it out. And then I thought about it last night, and I think I know what the problem is. What's happening here is there's a limited slip clutch that drives the take-up reel. And that limited slip clutch is designed to allow... All right, so when you're at the beginning of a tape... Let's see if I have it here. It's rewound here. Okay, when you're at the beginning of a tape... this take-up reel, this isn't what's pulling the tape through. It's actually the capstan and pinch roller right here. That's what's pulling the tape through the mechanism. But in order for that to work, you have to take up whatever tape is on this side and keep it taut. So what happens is there's a take-up drive sprocket, okay, that pulls the tape forward like that. Okay, keeps tension on that take-up reel. When you're at the beginning of a tape and heading towards the middle of a tape, that's spinning relatively fast. But as the amount of tape begins to build up on this side, as this side gets smaller, this one spins faster and this one begins to slow down in order to maintain the pace with the pinch roller. That's all well and good, but you need some kind of a mechanical mechanism to allow slippage in the unit. That's where that that slip clutch comes into play. And if that slip clutch is improperly designed, or if the materials that are allowing it to slip begin to degrade from age, then you're going to have an issue where it's running too tight. It's putting too much tension on this take-up reel. And that can trigger the automatic stop mechanism. At least that's how I think it works. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to take this thing apart. Again, this unit doesn't have a lot of use on it, but age is not on its side. It is quite old. Maybe we'll find out how old in just a moment. So I'm going to take these screws out and pull the batteries out. And the batteries are fine. These are lithiums. I put these in there because they never leak. I've never had a lithium battery leak on me like that, like the alkalines seem to do so much. Ever since Duracell started making their batteries overseas, it seems like they all leak. I don't know why that is. At least I think they're made overseas. I should check up on that. Let's pop all the screws off and see what lies beneath. I just want to take a look. If I can get to that mechanism, I can see if I believe they're made out of felt, and I want to see if maybe the adhesive is let go, and I just want to take a look. See if there's something we can do to change it so that it's not as tight. Now, this is from the RCA days when they were manufactured by Thompson Consumer Electronics, and whichever vendor supplied them. I think Thompson was more of a middleman, and they would contract manufacturing out to various companies. I could be wrong on that. Some of you might be able to clear that up for me. Okay. So here we are inside. You can see this is 90s all the way. Look at that. See, in the 90s, they used these packaged resistors and capacitors. These were mounted in a tape and thrown in like that. The belt looks pretty good. The belt doesn't seem to have. The belt has never been a problem on this unit, actually. That's actually not the issue at all. But is there a date code on here? The date code is 3350M. But if we look at the back here, the date stamp on the casting is not there. It was made in January. It's model RP1868A. But there's no date clock on there, so I don't know. Well, a couple of screws hold this board down. Let's take the belt off, put that aside. Belt's in pretty good shape. Again, never been a problem. Now, one of the other problems I had with my RCAs when I was a kid were the headphone jacks. They always failed with regularity. And that was actually the number one reason why I'd ever have to replace one of these. I went through so many portable radios. I couldn't afford a Sony. I was just a poor kid in a rich town. All the rich kids had Sonys. I had RCAs. I had a couple Panasonics, but never had a Sony. Couldn't afford one. All right. It's not a good one. Now it looks like I'm going to have to do some desoldering here. Get a good image of this. Grab my phone. Oh, I don't have it with me. I'm going to have to desolder these wires. It looks like. Oh, there's one screw I missed, and it's, look at this. See, this is high quality construction right here. You've got these very thin, these are the head, these go to the head, and or they could go to the tuning coil. We'll take a look in a minute. I think they actually connect to the audio head though. But look at how they're rubbing up against that screw, that metal screw. It's definitely not the mark of quality. It's not good actually. It looks more like a factory defect than anything. Oh yes, so this one also has, which is nice, an AM/FM tuner. So you know that's handy, and it's digital. Truth be told, this was actually the first time I'd ever owned a radio with a programmable tuner. No joke. Alright, we might have to... Yeah, you know what they did is they... Oh, those bastards. I don't think I can take this apart. With that extensive disassembly and desoldering. Going to be a challenge for sure. I've had one of these apart before. One of them I took apart. Let's see. What's holding me back is it's stuck on the headphone jack. Yeah, those jerks. want this taken apart. Okay, so we're definitely going to have to do some desoldering. I'm going to heat up my iron. Do what we got to do. And I'm going to make sure that I mark things off here somehow. Alright, so the yellow wires are just a switch, so they're not polarized. So I'm going to put a Y here and put a Y right there at JW4. Now I'm going to put a negative here for motor and a positive here for motor. Oh, they actually marked it on the board, so that makes it a little easier for us. Once the iron gets up to temp, we'll solder it. Okay. Let me grab mine. I love this iron. It heats up so fast. You know, when I was a kid, I would have to mow 5 or 6 lawns to pay for one of these. I was undercharging my customers. Okay, let's take a look at what we got here. Alright, wow, look at this mechanism. It is so simple. Very, very basic design. And everything is coated in filth. Well, not filth, but everything seems to be coated with some sort of a film. It just smells like it's sat in a warehouse forever. Alright. Okay, so the way this one works, the take-up reel, there's a little bit of grease in there. And it's my estimation. See, what it does is it begins to bind up and it slows down. And then it starts to click, 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 click. Because what's happening is there's not enough slip action going on here. So it's slowing the whole motor down. And then it triggers the safety stop. And therein is the problem. Now, to get the tape mechanism out, I've got to remove 2 screws that I cannot have access to unless I open the door all the way like a dentist. Okay. Say I can never find the tools I need where I need them. Alright. Looks like there's a couple of catches. There's one here. My fear is I'm going to break something because it's such old plastic. I really would like to finish this book tonight. That may not be possible. I might have to obtain a new cassette player or subscribe to audible.com. Like hell, I'm going to do that. God damn, everyone is into this whole subscribe for life model. Not me. No, not me. Sorry. Yeah, if I try this, I'm going to break it. But it looks like I can access most of it from here. Let's see if we can get that cap stand out. That spins nice and freely. Yeah, this thing was not meant to be taken apart, for damn sure. If I could just get these 2 screws, maybe I can. Maybe I can. Ah, that's even your nagging. Got it. Okay. Sometimes you just gotta go for it. It's true with cassette deck repair, but it's also true in life. Sometimes you just gotta grab it. Alright, there's a couple of other screws we need to contend to. That would be this one here. How much you want to bet this thing isn't going to work when I'm done? I'm going to finish it off. But look, it's not working right now. This is the second time, or the second audiobook I haven't been able to finish because it just keeps shutting off and binding up and screwing me over. Okay. We're in. But look at this mechanism. It is so okay, all right. This might be all. Oh, look at that long screw. Look at that. There's two of those. Look at this mechanism, guys. It's so cute. It's the cutest thing ever. Okay, what ails ya? So when I press play, yeah, and where it fails is in this clutch right here. Yeah, I bet you that the grease that's in there is the problem. And it's a little spring right there to keep tension on it. And inside there's going to be a little pad. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to take this apart best way I can. We're going to clean out all that old grease. Pop this off. Or maybe yeah, this right here is the auto stop. So when it's under a lot of, yeah, see, look at this, watch this. Let me see if I can get this in zoom. This is how the auto stop works. All right, ready? Okay, so I'm going to pretend that this is the motor spinning and everything's all happy and wonderful and beautiful. When I put my finger up against that roller right there, it causes tension to be applied to that white piece right there that you see. Okay. Maybe not. Am I going the wrong way? No, I'm going the right way. But it causes this lever to push the, this thing is so chintzy. I don't know why it's not working. If I press down on this, it should in theory disengage. But you can see it puts pressure on it. Yeah. Anyway. I think you guys get what I'm saying. Alright. This is why this unit does not have auto stop and rewind. It only has it in forward. God, I should just spend the extra money on a used Sony. I think they're built a little better than these Walmart specials. Let's see if I get that out. Oops. It's got pause too, doesn't it? No, there's no pause. Okay. I gotta pull the capstan out. Yeah. God, this thing is so fragile. Just my stomach making noise. House is so quiet when the dehumidifier is not going. I gotta pull, this is, you got these little slip rings on there. There we go. Okay. Make sure we don't lose those. I said make sure we don't lose those. There's one. Should be two. There's two. Okay. So out goes the capstan. Now this is a, oh, I'm sorry, you're not even in focus. This is the lay shaft or gear, and that has to come off too. But that sucker's been clipped on, and I don't think I can get it off. They really didn't want you fixing these. See, back in the 90s, planned obsolescence was definitely alive and well. Maybe we can snap it off. There we go. Alright, that one's off. Now, let's take this out. Here is our little clutch. And it's tight. It's really tight. So what can we do about it? Well, there's a little plastic pin that holds that spring in place. Maybe we can reduce the tension like that. No, huh? Sometimes the degradation of nylon components themselves can be the problem. That's a little better. See? I was able to adjust the tension by pulling up on this little black cap. Push it back down all the way again. It's a little tight, but I can pull it up. Let's just take it apart and have a look-see. Ah, yes. This little pad is contaminated with oil and bits of crap. So what if we did this? We take this little pad out, flip it around, and we take some alcohol and we clean this up. What do you think? Okay, I think we're on the right path here. So I've got some Demon Alcohol, another group that another musician that I discovered on my RCA cassette player. It's Ozzy Osbourne. Let's clean this off. This is more or less the surface that is rubbing up against that little disc. Oh, there's no alcohol in that. Let's just get it. There we go. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay. Clean it up. Dry it off. Put it back together again. Okay. Okay. There we go. And it goes up against this right here. All right. Now, the grease that's in there, I'm not going to worry about. It's not really causing our problem. I don't think. But it is kind of crusty. Not going to lie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of WD-40 and kind of spray this clean. Okay, before reassembling that, we're going to put some new polyolefin grease in there. Just a little dab will do. Less is more. More is less. Here's what I think happened. I think the liquids or the oils in the grease seeped into this pad, contaminating it. And just put a little bit in there. Because that spring has to be able to slip as well. Put the spring back. And we're going going to put a little bit of that grease on the other side of that cap. That holds the spring in place, the spring retainer, if you will. Okay. And then we're going to put this back together, making sure not to get the grease on the friction pad. I'm not going to put that plunger in all the way just yet. It still seems a little stiff to me. I mean, it really does. There's a lot of drag. Put it in all the way where it's supposed to be. Yeah, there's a lot of drag on this. There's probably a little too much. More than likely. So let's back off on that spring a wee bit. There's still a lot of drag, but it's not as much. Okay. So then I'm going to take some of my polyolefin grease and I'm going to grease just a little bit there. Okay. Make sure it's in the right position. We're going to get our take up reel thingy. Oop. I just pushed in my my spring a little bit there. I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to back it off once more. Okay. While I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and apply just a dab of this polyolefin grease where I see grease had been at one point in time. Okay. So that everything works as it should. Good stuff. It's designed for transport mechanisms of all sorts. Laser printers, shit like that. But these gears, man, they are so freaking flimsy. I swear to God. They are so flimsy. Okay. Any place where things slide. Okay. All right. Think it's going to work? I remain cautiously optimistic, okay? All right. This is an eccentric gear. This is actually what activates the shutoff, okay? And I do believe that goes there. And this eccentric should have a little bit of grease on it as well. It's a little eccentric cam type thing. And that's the key to making the auto stop work. Okay. Not quite sure how, but I'd have to really examine it to see how that really all plays together. But maybe in another video. Okay. Clean my pinch roller. You don't want any grease or oil or anything on that. Okay. It's okay to put a little bit, just a tad bit of grease on this side of the pinch, or the capstan roller. Capstan, sorry, capstan. I gotta get try to be specific with my terminology, else I get spanked by the online community. Figuratively, of course. Okay. All right. Now we got to put our pinch roller retainers back. Got this tiny little spacer. That spacer's job is actually partly to keep oil off. And then you've got your split ring. I've snapped in place. Nice. While we're in here, we can also clean the heads. I'm going to take my cotton swab. I'm going to clean the head. Head, not heads. It only has one head. This is just a player, not a recorder. The head is really clean. There's no buildup. This thing has low usage. It really does. I've only played a couple of audiobooks on this sucker. Okay. And I'm going to put a little dabadooya there. And there. And there. And there. A little bit on there. Anything that slides. Smooth operation. Okay. I'm going to mop up my excess alcohol there. Okay. Okay. I think it'll work. Let's reassemble. Easier said than done, am I right? Okay. Check. Man, this thing is so poorly made. It is. It's actually comically poorly made. There's X. Look at this. There's yeah, man, what a mess. They got wires that are pinched. You got, man, yeah, I got pinched wires. I got shavings from the molding process. They got everything. It's all right here for you. Okay. All right. Now, those two long screws, I believe, went to the transport mechanism mount here. Yeah. Alright, there's one. My iron's still on? Yep, good. Careful with your soldering irons, guys. One time I was doing some production work in my old condo. Oh yeah, one more quick trick. When screwing into plastic, thread it in backwards until you hear a click. Then start threading. Because what will happen is sometimes it'll just start a new thread trace. You don't want to do that. So yeah, fun story. I was in my condo doing some production work for a friend. And he had me assembling these circuits that are designed to power antique schoolhouse clocks, the old slave clocks. There was a slave clock in every classroom and a master in the main office. Anyway, these are like 19th century deals, you know, these are oldies. Anyway, he designed this circuit and he wanted me to assemble them for him, so I said sure. So I set up a workbench in my house, my bedroom actually. Had all the parts and everything all right there. And I started building them, and anyway, we stopped production because he had to redesign something. He ended up dying. So this was probably like a month or two after I had stopped building them. So I'm packing up all the stuff, sent it back to his house, and then maybe about a couple weeks later, I moved the bench that was sitting on my carpeted top floor bedroom in my condo. And I found a soldering iron on the floor, plugged in. My heart skipped a few beats because I know that soldering iron had sat on the floor, and it was hot. It had been on that floor for months, weeks, maybe weeks, not months, but weeks. Just plugged in on a carpet. in a multi-family building. Just, oh man, that was a scary moment. Okay, we got to guide these wires up to where they belong. Oops, I just undid what I done did. Okay, let's try that again. Let's get these up here. And the two little yellow wires. Now these wires will break off of their switch. That's the on switch, by the way, that they're connected to. That's the motor start-stop switch. So when you press the play button, it turns the motor on. There we go. I could be using tweezers, but I don't have tweezers yet. There we go. Let's get that in there. Get these wires tucked where they belong. Looks pretty good to me. What do you think? Alright. Start screwing this thing back together. Then we'll solder our wires, put the belt on, and I'm going to hopefully get to finish my freaking audiobook. Because I am not subscribing to audible.com. You understand me, son? Okay. So it's actually the AM antenna wires that are mounted in a precarious location next to the screw. I'm going to show you once again where they put them. Right there. So, hooray for that. Okay, let's get these screws where they belong. Audio cassette tapes are making a comeback for some reason. Of all the formats to make a comeback, it had to be one of the worst ones. I'm not an audio tape guy, sorry. Just, they've caused me more grief than they're worth. Compact discs, though, yeah, that's where it's at. Compact discs. I'm not really into audio tape. Audio tape doesn't age well. It's susceptible to dust, dirt, moisture, sunlight, magnetic interference, all sorts of things. Then it breaks. You ever have a cassette break, your favorite one, while you're on your walk to or from middle school in 1997, listening to your RCA, RP, whatever? I have. I've been there, buddy. And it wasn't good. I think it was my Pixies tape. Okay, here we go. So, get our switch wires back where they belong. I should clean this tip, it's disgusting. There. And that'll go right there. I do believe that's where it went. Okay. And then our motor positives. Motor negative was way the hell over here. And motor positive. Oh no, that was motor positive. Negative was way over there. Yeah, stretch that out over there. Great distance. Let's see, are we in frame? Yeah, we're in frame, but you can't really see shit. That's okay. Okay, there's motor negative. I'm going to need these to get motor positive. Where it's going to be. Right there. Here. Let's bend that down. Doesn't want to. Okay. All right. I'm going to put the cover back on. We're going to test it. Before we do that, before we do that, before I go ahead of myself here, one thing I like to do with old belts, sometimes the rubber leaches out oils, and as it sits in a package for many, many years, and it leaches out some oils and gets on the surface, causes the belt to slip. I like to take a little bit of rubbing alcohol and kind of clean the belt
No.
up.
Small theatrical routine is not a subclass of ethanol.
Okay, that's why I don't like series. This isn't mine. It's not a Siri, it's a you-know-what. I'm saying Siri because it doesn't respond to that. Anyway, because they listen to you all the time. This is my girlfriend's idea. She puts one down here so she can listen to music while she works in the basement cleaning and whatever she does down here. Drives me nuts. I lost that battle. Sometimes you have to give in to please the one you love. Well, it's a pretty big one for me. I don't like those devices because they are a privacy nightmare. But you all know that. Most of my loyal viewers are well aware of the risks of intelligent home devices, which are really just portals for major companies to get an idea as to what's going on in your house so they can better sell you things. They're like the wolf in sheep's clothing. I have a theory that eventually humanity will catch on to this, and there will be a backlash against smart home devices. I use smart in quotations because there's nothing really smart about them. You know what I mean? In terms of how they work, they're really just what they do is they constantly listen to voice or vocal activity in the household. And when they pick up on a key word, where the hell does this go? When they pick up on a key word or a key phrase, they respond accordingly. And what they do is they actually use the power of online search engines to make sense of that command. That's all they're doing. They're not doing anything smart. There's no brains in that box. It's really just a voice-activated search engine. That's all it is. There's nothing smart about it. I mean, it does everything my 2005 MacBook Pro can do. 2007 MacBook Pro. Nothing really smart about it. As a matter of fact, voice-activated technology has been around for ages. But once you tie it to a search engine, suddenly it's a miracle of technological innovation. How does that work? I don't know. Anyway, I just hope I don't lose my place in my book because I'm really invested in that story. I'm on tape 2, and I listen to it every night on headphones, with headphones, and I just don't want to lose my place. I'm really getting into this story. It's called Toxin by Robin Cook. Robin Cook is he's an author. He's also a doctor. I believe he's a primary care physician or a surgeon or something. But he creates these incredibly complex medical dramas that are just seat of your chair, gripping, thrilling stories. And just like how John Grisham writes legal dramas, which I love his work. But let's get this back together here. I don't have the headphones down here. They're upstairs. Hopefully I didn't make things worse. There's always a possibility. Well, it's not as grippy as it was. Fast forward is the same speed as play. Well, not really, but anyway. I think it's going to work. What do you think? I do need to adjust the, I'm going to have to adjust the position of the head because there's a little bit of crosstalk, but that's an easy adjustment on this. There's a screw, it's visible right there. You put the tape in with the cassette door open, and you can adjust the position of the head. So I'm going to have to do that because, again, everything in here is made of plastic, and over time, what does plastic do, kids? You in the back? It changes. It can lose its precise tolerances and positions. So when you make everything out of plastic, the alignment and adjustment of things, it tends to wander as the plastic deforms. That is why plastic is not always the greatest material on earth. But anyway, let's see if it. I'm going to put this tape in. This tape is almost at the end, and I'm going to put this in there and see if it stops. I think it's okay. I think it'll be fine. One more thing. See this window right here? We're going to go ahead, we're going to polish that with Meguiar's Plastics. Do this at your local auto parts store. Be careful with what you put this on. It's really helpful on plastics. It's designed for basically motorcycle windshields and automotive clear plastics, but you don't want to use it on a painted surface because it actually does have some, how do you say, abrasiveness to it. But they say it's great for headlights. It's not as aggressive as you're thinking, but it does polish plastics really well. You just let it dry to a dull sheen. Then you take a microfiber cloth. Take your microfiber cloth and you're going to buff it, like right now. And you just go like that. Well, depending on how deep the scratches are, it may or may not work. It did help, for sure. At least it's shinier. Well, anyway, you can't win all. Yeah, this thing sat in my car for a while, and that's what really did it in. Got dust on it. Now this plastic is so soft that it takes nothing to scratch it. I'm going to try it one more time. Just a little bit. That will do you. Try it one more time. Let it dry to a haze, buff it off, and it helps to remove some heavy scratches, but it's not perfect. Okay, that's going to conclude our video. I'm going to play this tape in here and see if it worked. So far, it actually sounds better than it's ever sounded before. So I think that was a success. Like, it sounds perfect. The speed is actually much smoother. By the time you hit the middle of a tape, it would start to warble a little bit. But it's no longer doing that, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. So, yay, we won. Well, that's all for now. Thank you all for your endless, unending support. And if you happen to have one of these, it's a pretty common problem. Like I said, I actually had one, I had a couple of these when I was a kid in the 90s, and I remember at least one of them having this problem. And back then I was too stupid to figure it out. But it's an RP 1868A. And very, very handy. See, you go to like Savers and you can buy these audiobooks for like $3. This one's been returned or been redonated at least once or twice. And that's exactly what I'm going to do when I'm done with it. I'm going to return it and buy another one. It's like a library that costs money. Well, okay. Well, you get the idea. Anyway, thank you for watching.